Hey everybody, Dutch Sense here. 4:04 p.m. Central Time on November 30th, 2017. It is Thursday, going into Friday internationally, and we have big news for people on the East Coast. A major earthquake has struck on the East Coast of the United States, measuring in at 5.1. This is the largest earthquake since the 2011 5.9. Now, the earthquake has been upgraded. Originally, it was reported in at 4.4. The location in Delaware, right next to Washington, D.C. And in the forecast for this week, we named out Washington, D.C. as a location to watch on the eastern edge of the craton. This brings us into Dover, Delaware, and no doubt about it, it was felt all the way up the East Coast and down the East Coast into the Carolinas. If you want to see the warning issued for Washington, D.C., feel free to go over to my YouTube channel and check that out. Now, the magnitude on this is coming in about 2 full magnitudes more than what we were expecting. We were looking for a 3.0 earthquake at the most, more like upper 2, and instead, now they just downgraded the earthquake from 5.1 to 4.4, back down to 4.4, I should say. So we'll go with whatever magnitude they are reporting on. Now, this would be more like a magnitude greater, maybe a magnitude and a half greater than what we were looking for. Now, location-wise, I mean, again, we try to get it down to 200 miles, and Washington, D.C. was the named location. When I did name it, I said I was kind of joking around a little bit when we talked about targeting the earthquake weapon on D.C. But here we are, and it has been hit. Now, where did it come from is the question. Again, where did that power come from? Well, the 4.4 makes a little bit more sense as well. A 4-point-something struck here just a day and a half, 2 days ago at the Wyoming-South Dakota border, which the USGS chose to hide. And I told you guys, they can go ahead and hide an earthquake that strikes out where nobody can feel it. It's the proverbial, if a tree falls in the woods, nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, yes, it does make a sound, but nobody's there to record it or make note of it. Well, they deleted the earthquake out here in the middle of nowhere at the pumping operations, but you can see within a day and a half, we get a similar-sized earthquake downstream. So there's some debate as to whether or not it was a 4.1 or a 4.5. By the way, it would make sense if it was a little bigger, because look right in between what happened over the last day. Big swarm broke out in the Midwest. So if you're on the East Coast and you felt a significant earthquake today, you have to understand this 4.4 came from another earthquake that struck over in Wyoming at the pumping operations that I showed you yesterday. We didn't just name Washington, D.C. randomly this week. We talked about this at length in the earthquake forecast. I would urge you to go watch the earthquake forecast video. It's over on my channel. It's titled Earthquake Forecast. It's on my YouTube channel. And again, it's about an hour long, but it's going to be worth the watch now that the largest earthquake in years has struck right next to New York City. As I told you, on the East Coast, you have to watch to the Midwest and to the West Coast for the activity. And that determines what's coming your way. Now, here we are, a full magnitude or more above what we were looking for. And at this point, I would like to quickly just go look up the earthquake to see what is actually at the epicenter. And to do that, we're going to get the coordinates from the USGS. Again, they're coming in at 4.4. I'm not going to debate on that. If they want to bring it in at 4.4, if it was a 4.4, then so be it. Okay, so let's open up Google Earth. Now, there's a lot of felt reports on this earthquake. Look, 1,173 felt reports. That was a real shaker at 7 kilometers deep. It's pretty shallow. That means people felt it. And I told you, mid-range 4s can cause damage to houses, knock facades down, knock down chimneys. I bet there's probably some damage at some of the nearby areas. The only good news here, look where it struck. Struck out where maybe for miles all around you wouldn't be getting much damage. That's the good news. But the houses that are over here, let's just back this out and show you where it is. We're right along the coastal plain. Right along the coastal plain. Oh, look, Dover Air Force Base, where the giant harp ring happened before. Isn't that weird? Okay. Well, do we have anything else going on down here? What do we have here? What do we have here? Looks like a storage facility of some kind, so that's different, though. That might be for the Air Force Base, gas or oil storage. I don't see any pumping operations or anything nearby. That's good news, so they're not doing any kind of oil or gas extraction here. And off the coast, I don't see any either. If you're on the East Coast, the reason you got struck, let me turn on a graphic here and turn off this display capture. Now look at this North American craton graphic. This should explain it a little bit better. I put this out years ago, and the black lines I added to it. You can find the craton graphic in many books and on websites of reputable institutions. Again, I just added the black arrows over to let you know which way pressure transfers. And you can clearly see where the location that just got hit at Delaware is in relation to the edge of the craton. It's right there, and I mean right on it. So on the eastern side, we just got pushed by the largest earthquake in years. And that's not an exaggeration. It came from the 4-point something that just struck a day and a half ago here in Wyoming. If you take the 4-point something and add it together with all those 2s and near 3s that struck yesterday in Oklahoma, it adds up perfectly to a 4.4. Now, it may be a larger earthquake, and it may have been a larger earthquake over in Wyoming. This proves my case 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt. When you get a 4 on the west coast, especially in the Intermountain West, like in Wyoming up by Yellowstone, that pushes all the way across the country within a few days and causes similar-sized earthquakes. Need I remind you, the 5.9 that struck in Virginia back in 2011, you guys remember that, right? It shook up the whole East Coast and caused damage to the Washington Monument. When that struck, that 5.9, 12 hours before, there was a 5.9 at the Colorado border. So same-sized earthquake. They downgraded the Colorado earthquake, by the way, if you go look it up. It's a 5.4 now if you look it up, but it started out at 5.9. So 12 hours later, after Colorado got hit, then the East Coast got its 5.9 in Mineral, Virginia. Now here we are today, and yesterday there was a 4-point something here in eastern Wyoming. Then, now here today, a day later, a 4.4 on the East Coast. Pressure transfers to the east. That's twice now with the 2 biggest earthquakes. And we have 2 examples of earthquakes striking upstream. Again, upstream is over on the west coast. Downstream is Midwest and East Coast. So let me again stress, we are going through a time of serious unrest right now due to all of these deep earthquakes that you see raised high off the globe in the West Pacific. Deep earthquakes are shown here easily, so you can identify them by the height off the globe. So the higher they are, the deeper they are. And so you can see from the Northwest Pacific down to the Southwest Pacific, down to the Southeast Pacific, or southeast of the Southwest Pacific, down near Fiji, all deep events pushing up on the underside of the Pacific. It has spread out and gone over towards Europe, and spread out and gone all the way over towards the United States, now across the United States. And need I remind you also about the 5.0 activity up here at the North Pole Arctic Circle. And, oh wait, hold on. We also have a new 5.0 earthquake that is just struck in Central Africa, right north of our letter X. This is on top of last night's 6.5 that struck right at the tip of our arrow in between the letter X and the arrow. Now the arrow traces back to where all of the activity struck just a few days ago in Central America. So it's all tracing back to this big deep movement over here. One more time, if you're just now tuning in, the largest earthquake in years has struck on the East Coast in Delaware, right next to our warned location, which we warned Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. Let me show you how close this is in case you're a new viewer and you don't know where we're talking about here. We'll turn on a display capture and we're going over and take a look at it. Here we are. So we're here on the East Coast, pretty obvious, and we'll zoom in. Our warned area was Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, and here's the location hit. Again, largest in years, and we are about a magnitude and a half greater than what we were looking for. More power has come over to the East Coast. Where did it come from? Well, we just have to trace it all the way back over to the west. Let me show you here. Follow the mountain ranges, which are the edge of the 8 edges of the craton, and we go back around, down through Texas, and we go up into Wyoming, where the earthquake struck. Let me turn on my place marks again so you can see. Right here is where our earthquake struck. Next to, this turns out to be uranium mines. But on all sides of the uranium mine, we have a large pumping operation, which from this height, you can barely see it. But as I zoom in, you'll start to make out our different pumps and wellheads that are scattered throughout the countryside here. They look like little sand dunes from high above. Again, but when you zoom in, you see the shadow of the well and the tanks. And they just go on for so many miles. And it carries on across counties and across state lines. So here we are. We're at the edge of a uranium mine, and we are also right on top of a fracking operation. That's where it struck yesterday. Now today, it went across, in the last 24 hours, it went across the fracking operations in Oklahoma, went up the East Coast with multiple earthquakes striking in Tennessee, and now today, again, most recent, 4.4, largest earthquake in years, striking right next to our warned location on the edge of the craton. If you were keeping track of areas that we named, you can check off Washington, D.C. off the list. Now let's see how far, just really quick, inquiring minds want to know, I want to know how far off we are on this. So let's search our coordinates again. I try to get it down to 200 miles or less just for forecasting purposes. So we'll measure from the earthquake epicenter, which I'm going to mark now for future reference. And this is how you do it, by the way. If you get an earthquake that's significant size, look it up and mark it. Let's see, November 30th, whoops, not 20th, 30th, 2017. And now we're going to measure in miles first, and then for my European viewers and everywhere else, we'll measure in kilometers. And let's just go over to Baltimore, D.C. and see how far we are. Okay, here's Washington. 80 miles. 88? No way. 88.8 miles. Right to the center of D.C. 88.88 miles. Wow. Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and tune out now. I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, and we're 60 miles from Baltimore. Now, unfortunately, guys, this is big enough to cause damage. It is. It can cause damage. We could probably hear about a few reports of things knocked over inside of people's houses, and it probably scared the crap out of a lot of people. So understand, the reason you're getting hit on the East Coast, pressure transfers from the West Coast to the Midwest to the East Coast. The seismic pressure is different than the earthquakes. Just understand that. So the force we're talking about here is separate from the earthquakes. It causes the earthquakes. That's another way to look at it. So the seismic force is being placed from the West Coast, and then it follows that interior craton edge all the way across. Path of least resistance. Now, why did it strike on the coastal edge here? Well, why did we warn this area to begin with on Sunday night? Because it was the halfway fulcrum point along the East Coast between our previous sets of earthquakes up here in Quebec and our previous mystery booms and rumbles that happened down here at the fracking and pumping operations in Alabama. Now we have it. It's 100% on the mystery booms and rumbles. Because now, following the mystery booms and rumbles, the East Coast gets creamed with the largest earthquake in years. For my longtime viewers, this should be no shock to you, but for my new viewers and people who are just now tuning in, we warned for this on Sunday night. I mean, down to the point. I'm not bragging. I just have to tell you, no one else is going to get on and tell you, hey, he issued a warning for Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and you got hit at Dover, Delaware. Again, getting it down to the day. We try to get it down to the day, to the location within 200 miles, and within a magnitude. And in this case, I've got it down to the day, down to the 200 miles, and it's a magnitude and a half greater than what we were looking for. If it came in less, that would be one thing. You guys could chide me all you want, but it came in greater than what I was looking for, which means that, again, that proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that pressure transfers. And it proves that the earthquake that struck yesterday in Wyoming, that they chose to hide because it struck at a pumping operation worth billions of dollars, well, you can hide the earthquake in the middle of nowhere, no problem. But you can't hide the earthquake in a populated area on the East Coast. Can I get an amen to that, all my viewers who are tired of scientific censorship going on? And there is some science scandal happening right now. Now, let me quickly ask you, do you have an earthquake plan? Do you know what to do when an earthquake strikes? If you don't know what to do, I've got a post on my website. Right now, I put it out just a few hours ago. And at the bottom of the post, I even linked up what to do in case of an earthquake, FEMA plans, all that crap. You can go look it up if you want to know. Now, again, for the people who are on the East Coast, you're probably not earthquake ready. You're probably not aware that things come your way. I've been waving my hands and trying to tell people for the last 6 years. And unfortunately, it's fallen on deaf ears. Well, here we are now, and I don't think the people on the East Coast are unwise. I don't think they are at all. I think they've just been kind of, lulled into a sense of security by the mainstream media and professionals who just kind of don't tell you about what's going on. There is no excuse. If anybody's injured or anything is damaged, there is no excuse. By the way, they just upgraded the earthquake to 4.6. There is no excuse at all because we issued the warning for Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, and we told the people what to look out for. So if people are injured or scared or didn't know, it's only because they didn't get the forecast. Now, this is like watching the weather travel across the country. So when you get a big disturbance over here, you get big disturbance over here. This is twice now since 2011. Like I said, 2011, 5.9 struck down in southern Colorado at the pumping operations. 12 hours later, 5.9 hit in Virginia. And here we are yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, or about 24 hours ago, 4-point-something here, and now we get our 4-point-something here. It's not a coincidence. It's not chance. It happens regularly, and there's a flow. That's why the arrows are on here. The arrows have been on here for years. So we know that the pressure flows from the west coast to the east coast and causes earthquakes along the way. And the bigger the push on the west coast, the bigger the earthquakes travel all the way across the interior edge of the plate. Get the word out now that we issued the warning for this. As a matter of fact, maybe I should take you over to my YouTube channel and show it to you. Is that necessary? Probably. It's not necessary. We don't have to go show you that we issued the warning. We just did it on Sunday night. You're welcome to go check it. It's titled Global Earthquake Forecast, in case you're curious, on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be saving this as a video on my YouTube channel as well, so that future generations and people can see that not only was this earthquake warned for, but we were expecting it pretty much down to the magnitude, and if I can get it under a magnitude, I'd be really happy. So if I can get this down to under a magnitude, I will be the happiest forecaster in the world. Oh wait, I think I'm the only video forecaster in the world who's been doing this for the last 10 years almost now. And you guys have all got to witness the real hard science being done right before your eyes. I appreciate everybody who's stuck through. Man, we've had to endure a lot, but I think our case is proved at this point. Peace out, word up, much love, have an earthquake plan. Don't be scared. Be prepared. There's no excuse anymore. We can watch this transfer across the planet with the deep earthquakes that are going on now. We are looking for a very large earthquake, larger than anything that's currently on the map now by far, to be striking in between all of these deep events. And we've already named the area. If you guys aren't aware, we're looking at the center of the silent zone here for a very large event to take place, at least one magnitude higher than the big one that's already here, which would take us into the 7 and maybe even larger range, depending on how many more deep events strike over the next few days. We are halfway through the forecast. The forecast was issued Sunday night, and it's a 7-day forecast. So here we are. We are on Thursday night, and we still have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to go. So don't let your guard down now, especially now that the east coast of the United States has been struck. And it's been felt by how many people now? I want to go see. Let's go take a quick look at this. Whoops, clicked on the wrong earthquake. Let's turn on a display capture so you can see what I see one more time. And there we go. Okay, Europeans reporting it at 4.6. USGS 4.4 still. Okay, and how many felt reports? 4,439 felt reports, and that's going to keep going up. I guarantee it. That was felt by tens of thousands of people across the East Coast, and 4,000 of them know to come to the USGS site to fill out the felt report. I guess if you're on the East Coast and if you felt it, go fill out a felt report. Don't do anything erroneous. But if you're there and you felt it, go check it. And while I've got you on here, let's just go see what the magnitude range is that they detected on this, if they're going to even make it public. 4.5, 4.3, 4.9, 4.3, 4.0, 4.3, 4.0, 4.7, 4.1, 4.8, 4.6. Okay, I mean, this is looking pretty standard here for what the USGS will detect across a broad swath. Highest is 5.3. We will throw that out, and we throw out the low ends. We'll throw out the 3.0s that are on this list, or low end 4s. Throw out the 3s, throw out the 5. That gives us a good broad swath to well, get a good average from, and we're looking about a 4.5. So I'm not shocked to see it's at 4.4. Now we're done. We're going to save this as a video on my channel. I will keep watch and be back in a few minutes to do a further update. I'm going to go make some coffee. Going to make some coffee because I'm going to be up all night tonight watching like a hawk. We're not done yet. We are not done. We've got 3 more days left to go, and that's assuming that there's not any more new deep earthquakes. There was already 4 more today. 4 more deep earthquakes today. So we're going through it. This is just like what happened this last December, 12 months ago. So 12 months ago, if you're not aware of what happened 12 months ago, I don't have time to go into it now. You can go back on my YouTube channel, I guess, and go back a year and look at the videos from a year ago, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But tonight at 10 p.m., I will be doing my live update, and we're going to go down the rabbit hole on this one and all the others. So you might want to tune in tonight because it's pretty significant what's going on right now. Word up to my people on the East Coast. Now I know you're listening. If you're not listening now, you're never going to. And I tried to tell you. I even joked around a little bit about targeting my earthquake weapon on DC. And now, again, I don't have an earthquake weapon. Unless you consider my DirecTV satellite dish. Right? I got my phone hooked up to it, and I'm trying to target you guys. In all reality, again, the East Coast got hit. I was just trying to get your attention in the forecast Sunday night by, going down that little funny road. And then I explained in the update, again, all seriousness aside, we are all joking aside, we got to be serious about this. And then I explained why we were looking at DC, Baltimore. Okay, we'll be back. Be safe, guys. Much love.